Hey everyone! We've finally got a trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home, and while we knew it would be good, it actually looks absolutely epic. In addition to a full reveal of Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio in action, we also got to see the movie's main villains in all of their glory, the Elementals. While Gyllenhaal's character may turn out to be evil in the end, it looks as though he'll be a hero to begin with, possibly teaming up with Spidey to take down the mysterious and powerful beings. But could those Elementals exist on MCU Earth because of the events of Avengers Endgame? That's what this theory suggests, so let's get into it. First of all, given that the Elementals are relatively obscure Marvel villains who first appeared in a comic book in 1974 and have barely appeared on panels since, let's quickly profile them for those of you who might not know anything about them. They're a group of 4 extra-dimensional beings who can control different elements, and in the comics they found themselves cast out of their own dimension to Earth. Ultimately, they were defeated by Carol Danvers, a character we'll be introduced to in the MCU this year when Brie Larson will be playing her, but back when she was using the name Miss Marvel rather than Captain Marvel. They're all immortal humanoids who can become one with the respective element they control. And if you're trying to imagine someone similar, think of Sandman from 2007's Spider-Man 3, or that scene in 2001's The Mummy Returns when Imhotep became a huge wall of water. The Elementals' names are Hellfire, Zephyr, Magnum, and Hydron, with Hellfire being the leader who can generate flames, Magnum being able to manipulate the earth, Zephyr, the group's only female, being able to manipulate air, and Hydron being able to manipulate water. Now, in terms of the latter, Hydron, it was widely believed for a while that the more well-known Spider-Man villain Hydro-Man would be appearing in Far From Home. But it would appear that the character people thought was Hydro-Man is actually the water-controlling member of the Elementals. And perhaps the two characters have been merged for Marvel's Cinematic Universe purposes, in much the same way the MCU version of Whiplash was actually an amalgamation of Whiplash and Crimson Dynamo. While it's very possible that the MCU versions of the Elementals come to Earth in the same way they did in the comics, after being banished from their own dimension for being awful, there are actually some other very convincing theories regarding how they got there. One is the theory that Mysterio summoned them, either by accident when he was dabbling in sorcery, or on purpose so that he could fight them and make himself look like a hero to the rest of the world. But the more elaborate and intriguing theory is the one we're here to talk about in this video, and it's the theory that the events of Avengers Endgame will cause the Elementals to come to Earth. The synopsis for Endgame currently includes the sentence, "Our beloved heroes will truly understand how fragile this reality is," which suggests that the very fabric of reality could be compromised by what occurs in the movie. Could it be, therefore, that the power wielded in the 4th Avengers outing breaks down the walls of the MCU's main reality, allowing other realities and the beings that reside in them to spill over into it? It's certainly a cool thought. It's previously been suggested that the reality-altering events of Endgame could serve as a way to introduce mutants to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know, now that Disney's imminent purchase of Fox means the X-Men's arrival in the MCU is inevitable. So why couldn't it also provide a convenient way of introducing more beings from other dimensions as well? We've already seen some beings in the MCU who were from other dimensions. Dark Dimension's Dormammu in 2016's Doctor Strange, and the multi-dimensional Obelisk in 2017's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, for example. So Marvel Studios are obviously keen on having their flagship heroes face off against opponents from different realities. This theory certainly makes things easier going forward in that regard. With that in mind, Spider-Man Far From Home's Elementals could exploit the potential effects of Avengers Endgame's reality-altering battle and enter a portal in their own dimension, and ultimately emerge in the one we're all familiar with. It seems like a huge coincidence that the very next movie after Avengers Endgame would feature villains from another dimension. It's almost like Marvel Studios is setting a precedent for what might happen going forward in the MCU, after the walls between dimensions come crashing down. The great thing about this theory, if indeed it turns out to be true, is that it opens up the franchise to some fantastic characters from other dimensions. The Marvel Universe is home to a near-endless number of alternate realities and dimensions, some of which were hinted at in movies like Thor: The Dark World, remember Eric Selvig's chalkboard, and opening up the MCU to characters who aren't from the standard MCU would be awesome. We could literally see alternate versions of the characters we already know in the franchise, as well as an abundance of interdimensional beings who we otherwise wouldn't see. And given that the idea would first come to prominence in the MCU in a Spider-Man movie, it's extremely interesting that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse has recently introduced mainstream movie audiences to the idea of alternate versions of the same Marvel character. Some great stories in the comics have involved characters from other dimensions meeting characters from Marvel's standard continuity. Think Angela from Image Comics ending up in the Marvel Universe and being revealed to be the long-lost sister of Thor. Heck, it even opens up the possibility of MCU and DCEU characters eventually meeting up on screen. You know, if Marvel Studios and Warner Bros. Come to one of the most unlikely and implausible agreements in cinematic history. Whether or not this theory turns out to be true, we're certainly looking forward to seeing Spider-Man, and indeed Mysterio, taking on these awesome elemental beings. They're going to be incredibly tough opponents, and we think they could turn out to be some of the coolest villains in the MCU to date, even though most people will go into Far From Home having never heard of them. And we hope this video has helped to increase your excitement about them too. Spider-Man Far From Home is released in July. Make sure you watch it. It's going to be amazing. What do you think of this theory? Could the elementals in Spider-Man Far From Home have come to Earth due to the events of Avengers Endgame? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Screen Rant for more great videos just like this one. See you later, friendly neighborhood Screen Ranters.